365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
And welcome to the latest edition of Real Talk. It is your boy Raymond Bond, Mr. Bond Chronicles, and I got Kenny on with me. Kenny, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I was running a little bit late, so I apologize. I had my other podcast that we're doing, and I live ran a little late. But we got some great action here that's been going on. March Madness has been crazy. The NFL has been crazy. The NBA has been crazy. But first, I want to start, Kenny, with the NCAA. So far, as a high school coach and just in general, kind of what are your takeaways been? What have you thought?
Oh man, it's just been really upset central, man. It's really you're seeing a lot of these lower seeds here making noise, and I got to shout out one in St. Peter's, man, because I'm a New York, New Jersey guy, so really super excited and happy for Coach Holloway. And I remember him. I remember seeing him play in high school because his high school played against the high school that I went to. So I go as far back as seeing him play in high school. So just to see his progression and to see what he's doing there with that program, it's super exciting to see. And just like I said, it's just been really just the year of the underdog. So you saw Duke have a scare there. They barely survived yesterday. You saw Arizona barely survive. We saw Auburn get knocked off. We've seen Kentucky get knocked off. So I'm sure everybody's bracket is busted for the most part. So it's just fun to watch, man. And just, I literally been watching basketball for 4 days straight. So I've been in heaven.
No, I agree with that. I think the other part for me is this has been emblematic of NCAA this year. Like, I feel like every time somebody would get to number one, they would lose. I feel like teams have been constantly getting knocked off. There's never been really maybe even a dominant player, let alone a dominant team in college basketball. So given that, I just kind of feel like this is what we should have expected, even though based on seeding, you expect Kentucky to win. I forget who Miami just beat. But I think it'd be Baylor. Like, it just
North Carolina beat Baylor.
North Carolina beat. That's right. I forget who Miami beat, but it messed up my bracket pretty good.
But was it Auburn? I think it was Auburn.
I think you're right.
They beat Auburn.
Yeah,
they beat Auburn.
So I think it'll also be interesting how this correlates to the draft. I think Chet Holmgren was supposed to be kind of a preeminent top talent, and I don't know if I'm seeing any NBA star in this tournament. Like, I think we saw what Steph has done. We've seen what KD has done. We saw what Melo did. We've seen even those Kentucky teams. You saw what Devin Booker as a sixth man could be. Like, this year, I forget the kid from Iowa. He's pretty good, but I think they went out pretty early.
Yeah, they got first round.
So I think if I'm an NBA talent evaluator, you might have some work to do based on what we've seen here. But overall, sure. I mean, I think it's been pretty good. We got a Nathaniel with a hot take. All three number one seeds will lose in either one of the. Okay.
I guess that's a hot take, but really with these upsets, I really wouldn't be surprised. We've already seen so many upsets at this point. That wouldn't really surprise me.
John, and that's actually one of the points that I did want to get to is we've seen some really bad officiating.
Oh, man. Awful.
Like I think obvious situations that with the ability of replay, we should be able to fix. I think, I forget, was the Texas game where it was like 45 free throws, is like 15. Like we've seen some really unique situations going on.
Yeah.
How
Then a
big
technical foul yesterday
when
on
the
in
dunk
the
where you're
Illinois
hovering
game.
around?
Yeah, that was terrible.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's terrible. That
Um,
was terrible.
so as a coach and as obviously a basketball guy, what's the fix? I know I don't think college refs, I don't think any basketball refs are or full time. Like, is full time refereeing the issue? Is it the game is too fast? Like, what do you think is causing all these
Well,
issues?
I would say no. I do think on the college and the pro level they are full time.
Are
I
they?
mean, I should say on the Division One level, and then on the pro
I know
level,
the
those guys.
NFL is not.
Yeah,
So
right.
maybe
Yeah, I think they're full time. But I honestly, I don't really know what the solution is. To be honest with you, um, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have some level of bad. You're going to have some bad calls. That's just part of the part of the gig, and you do have to play through some bad calls. But these have been these have really been over the top bad. But I disagree with you, Suggs. I don't think that flagrant was a BS call. That you can't elbow a guy in the head. That's just like punching a guy. So to me, I didn't have a problem with that because you can't elbow a guy in the head. That's definitely flagrant too. So I was okay with that call, but the other ones like the hanging on the rim, like that was terrible. And then again it's been some that and even that Baylor and was it the Baylor and North Carolina game? I think that was the game that was really super physical, and they really did a bad job of
down the
of
stretch.
control down the stretch of controlling that game. So I don't know, man, but because honestly, normally what happens is around this time, these officials, the officials that are working the tournament, those are the guys that have graded out the highest over the
Right.
regular season. So they get these assignments based off of how they, grade out during the season. So normally, you're supposed to be getting, the creme de la creme of the officials. So I really don't know what the solution is per se. I just think that this is just one of those years where we just had a bad stretch of officiating, and we've seen it come more to the surface. So I think that's really the biggest challenge right now.
No, I definitely agree with you that typically officiating is kind of one of those things where it doesn't matter until it matters. And I
Right.
think until you it sucks a little bit more when it's kids and dreams being shattered and you see all the kids crying, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it might be situations that were taken out of their hand. So but to the point of kids, I think it was uh man, there was so many games I can't remember. What was the game where the guy dunked it? He got the steal, and if he'd have just laid it up, they'd have won. But it went to overtime because he dunked it and missed.
Well,
The
I don't
clock
know. I didn't see
expired.
that one.
I can't remember which
Was
game it
that
was.
last night, maybe? Because I didn't see the Arizona game.
I think it might have been the Arizona game.
Okay.
Because they were down, they came back and they got the steal, and he went. There was a fast break, but time expired because he dunked it instead of shooting a floater or
Oh,
laying it up.
wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
They ended up winning in overtime,
Yeah, I think that's Arizona then.
but it's just kids, so
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
make those kind of decisions. But that part to me is really tough. But as you said, there's been a ton of upsets. So given that there's been a ton of upsets, what has been your biggest surprise so far?
Yeah, I talked about it already. I think St. Peter's to me is got to be the biggest surprise. Just having anytime you have a 15 seed advance to the Sweet 16, and then just who they beat, and beating a Kentucky team who was loaded. I watched quite a few Kentucky games during the season, and I just thought that they were poised to make a long run. So the fact that they knocked those guys off, and then turned around and did the same thing to, I think it was New Mexico State that they beat in the second round. Um, that was that's another one. That's a good one too, Suggs. Iowa State is definitely a surprise. But I guess me, because I'm a little homer, St. Peter's is the biggest surprise to me right now.
No, I definitely would say I think that's I don't want to say that's the easy surprise, but for me, I would say it's not the biggest surprise, but maybe one of the better stories for me is Michigan. And seeing how Juwan Howard, they were calling for his job just a couple weeks ago,
That's a
and
good one.
everything that he went through, and even how they finished the season, it was obviously he wasn't there, but then they got into the tournament and didn't really play relatively well. And to see how they've kind of come together now, this next game versus Villanova, Villanova's looked probably like one of the best teams I've seen
Yes.
in this
Yes.
tournament from start to finish. So they've had quite the gauntlet of teams that they've had to go through as the 11 seed, especially considering a lot of people said they shouldn't have got in. I heard that being talked about a good amount. So
Mm-hmm.
beating Tennessee, I did not think they would win that game because Tennessee looked great in the first game. Granted, it was against
Yes.
Longwood, but just defensively and offensively, they looked great. So if Michigan fool around and win this next one, they might do something special. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. St. Peter's, like I have a girl I went to high school with that went there, so she's obviously been super excited about
Of
everything going on,
course.
and of course, talking her trash and this, that, and other. So no, hopefully they can keep their ride going, and I think they get who do they get next? I was trying to look it up here. They get Purdue, so
Yeah, that's a
Purdue's
tough
look
one.
Purdue's look good
Yeah.
as well,
And
and
that
so
that big is that the big guy they got is huge. That guy's a
yeah,
load.
so hopefully not the Murray, it continues. But I guess I'll ask this since you said the coach there at St. Peter's. We just saw that Murray State's coach got a job offer to go elsewhere. Do you envision this is the last season that your friend will be coaching at St. Peter's?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, Especially because the Seton Hall coach just took the Maryland job, and he
Right.
went to Seton Hall. So I think
Mm,
that job is his if he wants it. I thought, I thought really the um, only way that he wouldn't take that job is if something bigger opened up. And now since LSU, they've already made their decision on the coach. I think that he winds up at Seton Hall. I think that's a no brainer because again, he went to school there. He was assistant coach on the staff for many years. Matter of fact, he was associate head coach there before he took the St. Peter's job. So it totally lines up for him to get that. So I would be shocked if he doesn't get that job.
okay. So definitely something that we'll be tracking there, and obviously shout out to him.
Yeah,
This
for
this
sure.
is why you do it, but
Right.
we do got to do it since we are here. So I'm gonna go back and pull it back up because I had it up. So your final four, obviously we got a prediction that we're
Trash.
gonna lose a bunch of one seeds. I mean we know that brackets are dead. So we're going to give you a reprieve. So
Okay. Thank you.
with with who you currently have or see left in the tournament, who do you got? Who makes your final four?
Well, the only one I think I still have alive is
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga. Because I think I had Tennessee in the South, and then I had uh, who did I have? I think I had Baylor in the East,
East.
and I had Auburn in the Midwest. So I just got one left. So I'll stick with Gonzaga. Although I think they're going to have their hands full with Memphis. Memphis plays really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the length to be able to match up with Gonzaga. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup. And really, another guy that deserves that needs to get a shout out too is Penny Hardaway, because there was a lot of questions about him. A lot of people, were second guessing him this year because they they were struggling. And, then he had that rant where he kind of went off and was dropping all those F bombs. So, people were questioning whether or not that, what his future was with the team. So shout out to him for turning that around. And they really went on a hot streak and they've been playing really well. So I think that's going to be a really big, really tough battle. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then I would say in the East, Oh man, I think I'm gonna go. I think they got a nice mix of inside and outside. So I think they're the best team left out of that region. Uh, so I'm going to go with them.
Who's
Uh,
then?
and yeah, because I think that they just have too much size for St. Peter's. As tough as they are and as rugged as they are, I just think they're going to really have trouble with Purdue's length. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with them in the East. Then in the South, um, I'm going with Villanova. Like you said, I think Villanova, to me, is the most complete and most fundamentally sound team we have in this tournament. And this is just kind of par for the course because, like, this is a typical Jay Wright team where they don't beat themselves. Like I said, they're fundamentally sound. They always play off of 2 feet. Every single drive they play off of 2 feet. It seems like everybody. It's like it's ingrained in their heads that when you get in the paint, you play off of 2 feet. So they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to turn the ball over. They defend really well. They just really locked up Ohio State yesterday, and they just really had a hard time creating offense. So I'm gonna go with Villanova in the South, and then in the Midwest, I'm gonna go with Providence. I'm gonna flip it there. I'm gonna go with Providence. I think that they're on a run. I think that Ed Cooley is a coach that doesn't get the props that he deserves, and I just think it's their year to really make a run. And I don't know. Maybe I'm probably a little biased against Kansas because they beat Memphis in the championship, and that was my uncle was on the staff the year that they beat them, so I'm still a little mad at them. So I guess I'm not picking them probably because of that reason. But I'm gonna go with Kansas. I'm gonna go Providence as a wild card. So I got Gonzaga, I got Purdue, I got Villanova, and Providence.
Okay. I'm gonna go a bit different. I got. I really want to go Duke because it's Coach K's last run. Um, so I'm gonna do it. I think Duke can get out of their group. So I'm gonna go Duke. I'm gonna go for the drama, and I believe just they're playing really well. I'm gonna go North Carolina. I think they've been riding high since they beat Duke in that game.
Oh yeah, that'd be nuts.
So I think they can get it done. I think Purdue could give them trouble. I think UCLA also can give them trouble, to be honest. UCLA's look pretty good. Even though the Akron game, I think Akron was better than 13 seed, but that's just me. And then I'm gonna go Villanova because, like I said, I think they've been the most complete, consistent team in this tournament. And I am going to finish with I'm gonna go. I like your Providence pick. I do. And even though they beat Richmond, but I'm going Kansas. I'm gonna stick with Kansas. I think the tried and true has been there. So I'm gonna go Kansas, Villanova, Duke, and North Carolina.
Okay.
And we'll revisit this, and we'll just kind of see where we go from there. But
Yeah.
man, these games have been unpredictable. Even the girls and the women, I don't know if that's offensive, but the women have been more upsets than usual because there was a time where it was Tennessee, South Carolina, UConn, and really that was it. And you could add a couple other teams, but some of their bigger seeds have been getting
Baylor got knocked off, I believe.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did get knocked off. So it has been just one of those years. And we've seen it in the NBA. We've seen it in the NFL, I guess. So sports in general has just been kind of crazy. I don't know if that's associated with the widespread gambling that's going on in sports. I'm not gonna say there's a direct correlation, but when Denver started the second half with their bench in this last game, I didn't really know what to think about that.
That's hilarious.
A conversation for another day, I suppose.
Right. Oh, I will say this though about your North Carolina pick, man. They are really lucky because they did everything that they could to give that game away.
They did
on Saturday.
Was it? I think there was a 21 and
25.
25, yeah. And
yeah, so they did, and down the stretch, they just really they really tried to spit the bit, but credit to them for pulling that out. So
yeah, once they went to overtime, they turned it back on.
Yeah, exactly. So that's credit to them because honestly, I thought once the game went to overtime, they were done.
Yeah,
because all of the momentum was on Baylor's side. So I just thought that they were going to carry that over. So that's a real credit to them. And then the other thing about Duke is that I really love Paolo Banchero. I think that's how you say his name. I love his game, man. I just think he's going to be a great pro because he could play inside and outside. He could put it on the deck. He could shoot it. He plays with force, and he's athletic. So I just think he's going to be a great pro. So I can understand why you would pick Duke.
Yeah. So, in other crazy news, I think our last episode we talked about Deshaun Watson getting traded, but I don't know if the details of the deal had come out. And so, for those of you who don't know, not only did Deshaun Watson get he was already set to start the first year of his $140 million deal, but Cleveland was so enamored that they decided, let's do one more. Not only we're going to give you a 5-year deal, not only we're going to give you $230 million, we're going to give it to you fully guaranteed. And that to me was like, I was happy when the criminal part of his situation went away. And I thought, yeah, now people will finally get back on the wagon. But if you'd have told me he was going to get that kind of fully guaranteed from there, I'd have said, you a liar.
You're nuts. Right.
That maybe Atlanta overpaying for the hometown kid, and that's not to say that it's overpaying, but that's a lot of money. Like almost $250 million. Like, that's a ton of money. But they did it. And I believe he's set to arrive later this week and get going, which I'm excited for. But ultimately, I'll have a follow-up question, but I'll start with there. What were your thoughts on the trade? What were your thoughts on the contract? And we'll get to Matt Ryan in a minute, John. And also there's a Baker impact to this as well.
Right.
But for right now, specifically with Deshaun, what did you think of the deal and everything else?
Like you, I was totally shocked and the same. Like I thought that that ship had sailed, once he said that they were out. So I was just thinking, it was going to be either New Orleans or Atlanta. So when that news came down, I was totally shocked. And then, that one part that was shocked by that. And then the second thing, that the contract was fully guaranteed, that really took it over the top for me. And to me, it's a total game changer. I think that this basically, like, if I'm a quarterback, this basically opens Pandora's box, because if I'm Lamar Jackson, there's no way I'm not check that's not fully guaranteed. Because if this guy's going to get his money fully guaranteed, there's no way that I'm not getting my money fully guaranteed. And then also, this also kills this whole notion that NFL contracts can't be fully guaranteed. That's why I said that this opens Pandora's box, because we had talked about it before, in terms of the collective bargaining negotiations, that this is something that they needed to, put in the CBA. But now they don't have to, because the owners already have taken care of it. So I think now that we're going to start this is going to just start just an avalanche or a ripple effect of guys looking for fully guaranteed contracts, and credit to them. So I'm glad that it happened. I think that Cleveland, they're basically kind of really going for it, because if you think about it, man, you got a core of Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper. You got the 2 running backs, Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You got Njoku at tight end. Didn't they trade? I feel like they got another receiver that I'm missing, I feel like. But no, they got rid of Landry. So
yeah, well, they're trying to potentially bring him back.
They
didn't release him, but they are. I believe they're in negotiations trying to bring him back.
Okay, and if I was him, I would be wanting to come back.
Yeah,
because who wouldn't want to play with Deshaun Watson? So you bring him back, then that's like a really nice core a nice offensive core that you can build with. And all of those guys are relatively young. I think Amari Cooper is 28 or 29. Deshaun Watson is 26 or 27. And then the two running backs are young. So you got a core that you can compete with for the next 5 to 7 years. So that could really be a game changer. So, again, totally surprised, totally shocked, but happy at the same time because now this evens the playing field for the players because these owners can no longer cry poor and cry that they cannot fully guarantee contracts.
No, that's actually a good point and even a better point. And I think it was on this show. I don't remember when I said the Ravens need to hurry up and get Lamar Jackson done. And for that reason, I didn't know this was coming.
Yeah, nobody did.
But I said if I think they were talking about an extension, but I said if him, Kyler Murray, and there was somebody else that was out there that needed to get paid. I said, the Ravens are going to run into the Dak situation where other people get paid and he got an MVP. So if he got the MVP, you got to pay him above the other people. We saw that with Devontae Adams. When Christian Kirk went and got what he got, Devontae's like, come on now. If he gets 19, 20, you better not come talk to me for less than 23 and a half, 25. Right. So I think the Ravens, and from everything we've heard reported, it's at Lamar's pace. But I think this is why Lamar is taking the pace he is, because he can afford to wait. And I think if you're a Ravens fan, eventually when you start paying, once you get off that quarterback rookie deal, you got to make business decisions. And it's going to hurt your team. Like we saw it in Dallas. I think we might be starting to see it in Kansas City to a certain extent where they've lost some people. Buffalo is still kind of going for it. But I think when not Stevie Johnson, when Stephon Diggs, they got him, I think, right before Allen's money's starting to kick in. So going forward, they might have to start making some business decisions on who they can bring in. So when you pay these quarterbacks, Cincinnati's in a great window right now where they don't have to pay Chase and Burrow. But when they got to pay both of them when they come up, like, good luck in figuring all that out. But we have, and John, you beat us to it.
The finesse king.
Kirk Cousins did do it. And I think I didn't realize because he ate us up. Well, he didn't eat us up. We were idiots. We kept franchising him, and I didn't know why. But I think it'll be 7 years of fully guaranteed deals. They said. I think he's earned.
That man got. I think it was like 180 million or something like that.
After this year, it'll be over $200 million.
Really?
That he's made in his NFL career. And when you think about it, if you would have said RG3 is going to get one contract and Kirk's going to make over $200 million when they were both drafted that year to the same team, people would have laughed you out the building. But he's lapped RG3 in earnings exponentially. And sometimes that's just the way it is. But to that point, Baker Mayfield requested a trade. He said, I want out. He was a jilted lover. I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. Like, you got to have some culpability in the fact that you weren't playing well enough, and they were willing to look elsewhere. Like, if you're playing better, the Ravens aren't looking elsewhere. Kansas City's not looking elsewhere. Buffalo's not looking elsewhere.
Right.
Like, if you play better, you won't have this.
Right. Right.
But I think the other problem that Cleveland is kind of running into, but Baker also is, Jameis re-signed today for, I think, 2 years. I think it was $40 million. I think $21 million.
I didn't see the numbers.
I think he got a better deal than I thought he'd get, to be perfectly honest, but I'm happy for him. The Falcons traded Matt Ryan, which we'll get to in just a minute, but they also signed, I believe, Marcus Mariota.
They did.
So if you're Cleveland and you're Baker and you look at the landscape, where does he go?
And Jameis was 2 years, $28 million.
Was it okay? 28. I think I think it's still 21 guaranteed, right?
Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, 21 guaranteed. Yes. Okay. I think Baker Mayfield winds up in Carolina. I think that's like the perfect market for him. You got the country, kind of, well, I shouldn't say country, but, southern town. Southern City, I should say. Big NASCAR presence. I want to be careful what I say. I want to be,
Yeah.
politically correct. But you get
But
where I'm
Darnold's
going.
still under contract, right?
Say it again.
Sam Darnold's still under contract there, ain't he?
I think so. But
I
if he
think
is,
Ham's not, but Darnold is.
I think you could be right. But if he is, it's only for one more year. But even if he is, so what? I'll bring him in for competition. Like I would trade for Baker Mayfield and bring him in and let them two compete for the job.
But if you trade for him, Baker's I think are owed $19 million this year.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah, because they picked up his 5th-year extension.
They did,
but they didn't extend it.
You're right. Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's really you really only have two places left. It's Carolina and Seattle. Those are really the only two places left. So I think out of those two, or maybe Seattle could be a good situation for them too, because that's a smaller market as well. I just think that in terms of being like the division, like I don't know if you want to go to that division because besides the AFC West, that's probably the second toughest division in the league.
I don't know. The AFC North is looking pretty tough right now too.
Oh yeah, that is too. You're right. Well, I think it all depends on what Pittsburgh does at quarterback because I'm not sure about Trubisky.
Yeah.
So if that's who they're going with, then I would say they're probably the 4th best team in the league. So that kind of weakens their division a little bit. But yeah, I don't. It's interesting to see because these jobs are definitely dwindling. So I think Carolina could be, and also it's a place that has he doesn't have to deal with elements. They don't really get a lot of bad weather there, and him being kind of smaller and not having the biggest arm, that might be a little better for him. So I just think that in terms of the market, in terms of the environment, in terms of even the talent, they have some decent talent there. Assuming McCaffrey can stay healthy. They have a couple of good receivers. So I don't know. I just think that also I think the other thing is that he won't have the pressure of having the number one receivers or having the big time, the big personality receivers that he would have to cater to per se. Because if he goes to Seattle, you gotta get the ball to DK Metcalf. So I don't know. I just think that Carolina's probably the best situation for him.
And I just looked it up. Darnold is scheduled to make 18.8 this year.
Oh man, I don't know. Unless they find a way to route him, get a Seattle involved and maybe route him to Seattle, maybe do like a 3-team situation.
Yeah, man, I didn't realize
it'd be tough for them to be able to make that happen.
Jumped so much in that 4th year. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the 5th year because his 4th year was $920,000. He had a $4.7 million cap hit, and then in 2022 it jumps to 18.8 with an $18.8 million cap hit. So he's fully.
They can't do that then. Yeah.
And I think him and Baker in the same situation. Their cap hits the same. So
that's why I said, well, if it wasn't an issue of if it wasn't an issue of a cap, then I would have, I would trade for Baker and let them two guys compete for the job because to me, both of them have question marks and neither one of them have done necessarily anything to say that they're a clear-cut number one.
Absolutely. So Drew Lock, I think you're on the clock because somebody is coming to stay with you.
Yeah.
That's
make sure you rent, don't buy.
Yeah, and that's the other issue is for Cleveland, anyway, they would want to potentially trade Baker. They also don't need a quarterback back. So it's not like we can swap quarterbacks. Right. But whatever team you go to, most of them have an established quarterback there that they want. And so you're bringing in another starter. So Baker might.
You think Pittsburgh?
I mean, Trubisky's deal is not bad, but would they trade within the division?
That's true. That ain't gonna happen.
A lot of disrespect to do that because they said Baker wanted Indianapolis, and Indianapolis like we good. Houston was the same thing. They was like, we'll just take
Which
the
was
draft picks.
weird. That was another thing I meant to touch on is that what does that say that Cleveland, Houston makes this trade for Deshaun Watson and doesn't ask for Baker Mayfield back?
That says a lot. I think it says a lot, but I guess it can be ignorance that Davis Mills they truly believe, or the way in which Baker has conducted himself. Why do we want that? We got Davis Mills. I can't imagine he's making maybe more than $1 million. Or we can bring in Baker and stunt his growth. And for what?
Right.
To win 2 more games, maybe. And Baker's coming off an injury-riddled season with a lot of drama with teammates. Like, it's just not worth the headache. And the same could be true or similar in Drew Lock. By all accounts, he's a great teammate. People seem to really enjoy him and like him. And if it wasn't for Russell Wilson, he probably would still be in Denver. Now, can he play? That's still to be desired. And if they fool around and lose Lockett or some of the others with the way they handled Bobby Wagner, Seattle might have, kind of some issues on their hand as well. So we'll really have to see how this thing shakes out. But definitely still a lot of movement to be had.
Definitely.
But that brings us to more quarterback movement. And I think, John, you mentioned it. The Falcons only getting a 3rd round pick. I think for me, I would say the story of this offseason has been when teams know you need to move someone, you don't get nothing for them. Whether it's Amari Cooper, I don't care if Robert Woods is coming off an ACL and he's 30. What they got for him versus obviously the Deshaun situation. And some of these other trades like Matt Ryan and then ultimately just cut Julio Jones. We've seen some trades where the compensation's been minimal at best. And I think it just speaks to maybe it's just impatience. I'm not sure, but I was surprised that it only took a 3rd, considering I think Watson's better, but that was a much bigger haul. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts. What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, well, to me, I don't know because if you with Matt Ryan, I'm not really surprised that he only got a 3rd round pick. He's aging. He's not a spring chicken. He's in his 36, 37.
Yeah, he's close.
He's up there. So I don't know that he's that. I don't think you would consider him still to be a franchise or an elite quarterback in this league. Yeah, he's 36. So, while you still would get, while you still could get, probably 2 to 3 years out of him, 2 to 3 good years out of him, I would think. I don't think he's that elite level quarterback. Now, I will say that he's an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I would take him over Carson Wentz for sure. But I think that there's fair compensation for him, to be honest with you. I don't think maybe a second at the most, but I'm not giving up. I wouldn't have traded a 1st round pick for Matt Ryan.
And I hear you. And I watched some of their games, but I also say he threw for almost 4,000 yards, 67% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. And their best weapon was a receiver that turned running back. Kyle Pitts he came on throughout the year.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley was gone most of the year. So it wasn't like they were necessarily loaded at the skill position.
That's true.
And I think he performed relatively well. And they were up until relatively late still in contention for one of those late wild cards. Now, granted, the teams at that level were pretty bad, but I thought he performed pretty well. So sending him to Indy, I think it's a great fit. I think the problem with Indy and even Cleveland and all these teams is they're all in the AFC. Like the Patriots, Mac Jones, y'all got some work cut out for y'all because the AFC is just loaded with, and not just this year, like for the foreseeable future, it's a bunch of 24 to 28-year-old dogs at quarterback all through the AFC on long deals, most of them. So they're not going anywhere. And it just, like I said, Bill Belichick, Miami, some of these other teams that don't have those guys, I think y'all got a long road ahead of y'all until something comes up, or y'all can make a move, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think the AFC has a long road ahead of them, generally speaking. But did you have anything else on football? Because I did want to try and get some time and get into the NBA.
No. I just think that the biggest thing is to, like you said, there's still some pieces, or still some, chess pieces that are going to be moved around in these next few weeks. So, we'll definitely have some stuff to talk about, not just the NFL draft, that's for sure.
And to John's point, I don't know if they can afford Julio. I don't know what Julio is looking for in terms of deal. Granted, he hasn't really looked great recently. That could be a situation where maybe there's an Atlanta reunion. I could see that potentially happening as well. He looks to be maybe towards the end of his career based on health. So maybe another year or two in Atlanta and get on out of here. I could see that, but I could see him in Tampa, but I don't know if he fits what they want. And the last thing they need is another unhealthy receiver.
That's fair. But, the Brady's always looking for weapons. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does wind up in Tampa. Another place that I could see him being is Indianapolis. I think they could use another weapon on the outside. So that could be interesting. I could see that as a potential landing spot for him. Another one too is New Orleans. I think New Orleans, they could use a second. They use a second guy. It seemed like, once Michael Thomas went out, they kind of struggled. They kind of have those smaller guys, or a lot of slot guys. So I think he could be a nice fit there as well. And he, like you said, he's familiar with the division. So I can see those as two landing spots for him.
Yeah, I think I just don't know what Julio you get anymore. Like,
yeah, no, that's fair. But I think that's just it. Like, if you're bringing him in as a second or a third wide receiver, I think it's worth the risk. If you're trying to bring him in as a number one, then that's a problem. Then I think that's a problem. Or I shouldn't say that's a problem. I think that's a risk.
So if you're bringing him in as a number two, how much are you paying him? That's my issue.
I get that, and I don't, and that's what I don't think he's going to break the bank. I think, and honestly, I don't even think I don't think he would be looking to break the bank, to be honest with you, because he's made his money. He's gotten his money. I think at this point he's just trying to win a ring. So I don't think that would necessarily be a tipping point for him not to sign with the team. I think he will go to the team that gives him the best opportunity to get to a Super Bowl. And if it's necessary that he has to take a pay cut to do it, I think he will.
So in that case, I think it's wide open. I think Green Bay becomes a spot.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of people, if you get him at a cheaper deal, like, I don't really see where he doesn't fit anywhere outside of maybe LA or Kansas City. But San Francisco, I think, could potentially be a great fit. You talked about Indy. I think there's a lot of potential great fits as long as he's coming in at that maybe 3 to 7 a year mark and not that 7 to 12 a year mark. Because I think if you go on 7 to 12, you're not going to a contender, because I don't think many of them have enough of the enough cap space to fit him in. But I think there's a lot of opportunity if you're down lower to get to it on a good team, and we've named a bunch. So I think he has options, which is why we haven't heard a lot. I think he might be kind of seeing how it shakes out. I don't know if you want to wait until the draft, because that could fill up a lot of different holes. So I don't think you want to wait too long, but I think he has a bunch of opportunities if he can get healthy.
Definitely.
And his price point's not too high.
Yeah. And like I said, I honestly don't see him looking to break the bank. I just think that he wants an opportunity. I think it's two things. He wants an opportunity to, somewhere where he's going to play, where he's going to, have opportunity to be a big part of the offense. And also, I think he wants to make sure that he has an opportunity for somewhere where he has a chance to win a Super Bowl. Like, I don't see him going to a rebuilding team, or a team, that's not a playoff contender. he definitely goes somewhere where he knows he's going to have a chance to make a playoff run.
No, I definitely agree with that. So I do want to get to some of the National Basketball Association, give you guys a couple updates. LeBron James coming off a huge milestone of moving into number 2 in the scoring list, put up an outrageous stat line against Cleveland. I know I was watching some different shows earlier, and this was kind of what a lot of people were expecting, that at this point, the team's not going anywhere. LeBron's goal is Kareem.
Just getting these buckets.
And, he still is highly capable of doing phenomenal things. So, and a surprise, and this will actually lead into another question of mine. They did beat Cleveland this evening, 131 to 120. So high scoring affair. LeBron had 38, 12, and 11. 0 of 4 from 3, but 17 of 29 from the field, and played 41 minutes. So definitely a man on a mission. It looks like they won by 11 and they were down by 12 going into the fourth. So I didn't get a chance to watch it, but it seems like he was definitely a key role in that. And Russell Westbrook was in 11 plus 23, plus minus 7 to 14 from the field. And so that's definitely a great win, I believe. I know Cleveland isn't who we thought they were necessarily, but Mobley played,
down to earth.
Garland played, Markkanen played, LeVert played, so they had everybody but Allen, who's been out. So regardless, going on the road, that's a big win as they try and hang on to that 10 seed. And it looks like New Orleans lost tonight, so they lost by 3 to Charlotte. So big swap. I know they got some games coming up, but big game for LA tonight. And John said 76ers took down Miami tonight.
Yeah, I'm watching that. They just beat them by 7.
So a big win
without Embiid.
Yeah, I think Harden was out too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So that's a bad loss.
That's an impressive win
for Miami and an impressive win for Philly. But my question for you is, what has happened to the Cavs and the Bulls? And I know I've posted a couple times about the Bulls' record against winning or playoff teams. It's atrocious. In Cleveland, I don't know if Jared Allen should have been in the MVP conversation or what, but they've seemingly
apparently
really hit the slide coming out of the All-Star break. Garland's playing well, but it's not translating to wins, and that's what it's all about this time of year. So were they fraudulent all year? Have they just hit did they peak too early? Like, what are your thoughts on kind of Cleveland and Chicago at this point?
I think with Cleveland, I think that they're kind of hitting a wall. We got a lot of young guys on that team. So I just think that they're just kind of hitting a wall just physically. So I think that's really the biggest reason for their struggles. With Chicago, I really don't know. Honestly, I can't really understand why they've been struggling like they have, because they're relatively healthy. I think the only one out is Lonzo Ball. And then they got Caruso back, and Ayo had been playing really well since they had started giving him minutes. So I really don't know why they're struggling like they are. But I just think that it's a youth thing with Cleveland. But I really can't pinpoint. I really can't understand why Chicago is struggling. I always did have questions about whether or not, and me and Mike kind of went back and forth with this, about the fit with Zach LaVine and DeRozan, because both of them, need the ball in their hands to score. I'm not sure if that issue is starting to rear itself, because DeRozan has really been the number one option on that team. So I'm not sure if that's the issue or if it's something else. But I did say that I always thought that they were a year away from being contenders anyway. So this doesn't totally surprise me. But I will say I'm in a struggle like this.
No, I definitely agree with the Cavs youth being a big factor. And I also had a lot of concerns with the DeRozan Levine, and even Vucevic mix, because I believe when I look at the rest of the landscape of the contenders, you need a superstar. And I know
Mhm.
DeRozan was having a really good year, but I've never really viewed him as a superstar.
Mhm.
And Zach LaVine has taken some steps, but he's not a superstar.
Right.
And right now they are beating Toronto, and I can't figure Toronto out either because they've looked really
Yeah.
good some games, and then they
Yeah.
look
Yeah. They're
awful
super
other games.
inconsistent.
But with that, they are beating Toronto. It's like they're up 15, so that would be it's a good win, a good home win. But I just don't know that that is enough, even with Caruso, to really contend. I think you need a superstar, and I don't think they have that. I think
Mhm.
DeRozan can be a great two. I think Levine's more of a three than a two, and definitely not a one. And DeRozan right now is 9 of 11, so he hit another shot, and Levine's 8 of 14. Well, when they shoot like that, and Levine's 3 or 5 from three, they're going to be tough to beat. But when the efficiency is not there and they're playing against a better defensive team, because we just saw Toronto give up a ton of points. I think it was to the Lakers or the Wizards. I can't remember which one I saw, but they just didn't show up. So it's interesting to see, but I don't think either will pose much of a threat, which I think could be to Brooklyn's benefit if they get one of them early on to kind of get their legs going again. John, you're right. The Hornets are another team. It's like they can go on some of these stretches. I've seen Lonzo Ball and Mikal Bridges been playing great. And PJ Washington's played really good at times in his role. Terry Rozier can get hot, but then they have some bad losses as well. So I don't think that I'm super concerned with Brooklyn currently.
No, they
Obviously,
beat Utah tonight. So they
Utah.
were actually been playing. They actually, to me, they've been playing better lately. So I'm not really as concerned about Brooklyn. I think there's a chance that they can move up to that 7th seed. I think that's as far as they go. I don't think that they catch Cleveland, but I think there's a chance they can move up to that 7th seed.
Yeah, Durant had 37, 8, and 9.
38, yeah. They had a big name.
But I think the other issue, and I think Utah at some point got to blow up this Mitchell Gobert issue. It's been an ongoing thing. It's been talked about and reported. Gobert gave you 11 and 4 tonight. Like that, you can't do 11 and 4.
And
Royce
that's
O'Neal gave you 2.
with the note with and I want to say Andre Drummond didn't even play tonight. If he did, he didn't play a lot of minutes because I was watching this game while we were.
He did not play.
Okay, so he didn't play.
Claxton,
so that makes it even worse.
28 minutes.
Yeah, because Blake, I saw we had a Blake Griffin side in tonight. So
we did. He knocked the 3 down.
Yeah, so like the fact that Andre Drummond is the only center on that roster.
Correct.
And you have 11 and 4 against Claxton and Blake Griffin, the remains of Blake Griffin. Like, come on, man. And to me, that's the problem with Utah, is that you got Donovan Mitchell, and then you don't know who is going to show up to help them out from night to night. Like, to me, you got, just a bunch of solid guys and one really star, but you only got a bunch of solid guys around them. You don't have that second or third, you don't have a big 3. You don't even have a big 2, to be honest with you, on that team, because you don't know what you're going to get night to night from from Gobert. Excuse me. At the most, you get maybe 15, maybe 20 at the most from Conley. Then what? Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really don't have a lot of scoring power. So if you get, you go against a team like a Phoenix, or you go against a team like a Golden State, you can't match the firepower that they bring. You know what I mean? So I just don't know how that they'll ever be able to contend in the West. And I agree with you. Like, if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm saying, look, either y'all get me a second, if y'all either upgrade this talent around me, or I'm going to ask to get out of here.
No, and I think rightfully so. But to that point, and I remember, I think it was last season, they had a game and they did an interview with the TNT crew, and Shaq and I think it was Charles were kind of hard on him. And they were saying, how many assists you have? How are you making other people better? And when I watched them play, I don't think Donovan Mitchell, he still hasn't taken that step. He can go get you 40. He can shoot a bunch of threes and get hot. But most games, he's in that 3 to 5 assist range.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be the superstar without another co-star, and you ain't getting no assists. You got to be able to bring your guys along, and Clarkson can get his own basket.
Right.
But in the playoffs, that just doesn't work. And you definitely can't throw it to Gobert and tell him to go get you 25 and 15 on a given night.
If it's not a dunk, he's useless.
So I think the mesh is flawed. Gobert fits well with a Chris Paul, with a James Harden, somebody that can break you down and is going to give you 8, 9, 10 assists a night. With Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, it just doesn't fit. So I'm not super worried about that, but a win is a win. So good win for Brooklyn tonight. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to give you an opportunity, and I know I've asked you this before, but New York, what are the Knicks doing? And by all accounts, Tibbs will be back. Do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah, I think it is. They have of late played better. So I think that, I think that they're, I'm disappointed in the season overall, but I do think that they've played better as of late. So I think that this stretch that they're on right now, I think it's going to save Tibbs' job. I think that RJ Barrett is taking a really step forward. He's really started to show that he is an elite. He's becoming an elite player in this league. I was disappointed. Of course, we wanted Zion Williamson, but now in hindsight, that may have been the better pick because with Zion's health issues,
he will not be back this year.
Yeah, exactly. So that may have been, we may have gotten may have gotten lucky on that one, but I just think that he's taking a step forward. I just think that this is a crucial offseason for the Knicks in terms of, and I think another reason why that this is saved, that Tibbs' job is going to be saved, is Derrick Rose going down. When he went down, and then you lose him and you lose Kemba Walker, so you basically have guard. So I think that was another thing that saved his job, is that the fact that they lost the 2 point guards, that kind of really took the wind out of the sails in terms of the team, because they really don't have a playmaker or a guy to get guys easy shots. So I think that's why the Knicks struggle to score. But having said that, I will say this, and I think I said this before. I think that Tibbs is going to have to really, over this offseason, he's going to have to really hire an assistant coach that's going to, bring some creativity, some ingenuity, something new to the offensive side of the ball, because like I said, they've really struggled to score. A lot of their sets just really devolve into a bunch of isolation. I mean, we really don't. That's not the team that we have. To me, anytime that your offense is breaking down into a Julius Randle isolation, then your offense is in trouble. Because he's just not skilled enough to be the guy that you're going to run your offense through. So that's why I say this is a crucial offseason. Like, you have to upgrade the point guard position. And then you have to bring in, like I said, you got to bring in an assistant coach to help on the offensive side of the ball. They just recently lost Kenny Payne. Congratulations to him to getting the Louisville job. I'm really happy. But you're going to have to replace him on that staff. So I think that you got to replace him with an offensive coach. Not a player development coach, but a guy that's going to really bring some, like I said, bring some creativity to the offense, that's a really great guy, a really great designer of plays. because you're going to need to find a way to create opportunities for these guys to get open shots and for these guys to get open looks. So I think it's two things that you have to do in the offseason if you're the Knicks. Is that you got to bring in, you got to upgrade that point guard position. I don't know if that means that you trade for Damian Lillard, but you got to do something to upgrade their point guard position because, like I said, they just struggle they struggle so much to score that's the biggest reason as to why they struggle so much to score. So I do think Tibbs gets his job back, but they're going to have to make some adjustments to the roster and then adjustments to the coaching staff. So I think if they do that, that would potentially be better. But we've been waiting, and at some point, you have to get a marquee. You got to get a marquee free agent to come to New York. Like that was the reason why you bring in a World Wide West. That's the reason why you bring in Leon Rose, because these guys are supposedly have these relationships throughout the league that they were supposed to be able to bring in that marquee talent. And as of yet, we still have yet to see, a franchise talent in terms of a free agent that is taking the Knicks money. And it hasn't been an issue of the Knicks not having the money. They've had the cap space over the last 2 or 3 off seasons, but no one wants to take the money. So that's really, they're going to have to get that done in order for them to be a contender in the East, because going off of 1 year of making going to the first round of the playoffs, that ain't going to cut it. We got to, the Knicks have they have a great fan base, and New York is, in terms of basketball, there's no greater fan base for basketball than New York. So you bring a contending team to that market, you're going to, see that Garden be electric, because we saw how electric the Garden was last year, just in the first half. So you imagine bringing having a playoff team that makes a run into, deep into, Eastern Conference Finals run or something like that. Can you imagine what the Garden would be like? That place would be bananas. So I just think it's a lot of, a few things that they have to do to really upgrade that roster. So I'm just curious to see how that's going, what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, because it's not working. It's not going to get it done the way this roster is constructed right now.
No, I think that's the thing. I think it's a mix of the two, but I don't know how much of a destination coach Tibbs is. So for your Jimmy Butler and people like that, they'll love him. But if I'm a young, talent, athletic, offensively minded player, nothing about Tibbs says I want to sign for there. And John, you brought up, I looked up the numbers. I don't think anybody gives him another big deal after this is up.
Definitely not.
He gets 39 this year, which he barely played, 42 next year, 45 the year after that, 48.7 the year after that. I don't think at 35 he's going to get another max deal.
No.
The way things have been going, unless something drastically changes.
No.
So I think this was his last big deal. At this point, unless something magically changes, but I don't see it.
And I have no idea who Farron Hunt is, so I couldn't even tell you any thoughts.
I looked him up. He's a G League guy. He's got cut and waived. Nothing about what I just read about him briefly said a lot, but they signed him to a 2-way deal. So,
okay, yeah.
Congratulations to him, but
exactly that does nothing for me.
Yeah, the Knicks are still going to be the Knicks. So tonight we kind of alluded to it earlier. Lakers had a huge win tonight. They are staying, and I think they might have jumped back up to the 9th seed with them winning and the Pelicans losing. Yep. But obviously, a lot of time left, but not a lot of time left. Does anyone catch the Lakers, or can they hold on with the way, if LeBron's going to get you 38, 40, or 50 every night, will he be able to keep that up to get them into the playoffs or the play-in at least?
Yeah, I think they'll they'll find their way into the play-in. I think it's going to be like the situation kind of a few years back when D'Antoni was coaching, and I think it was Steve Nash and Kobe and those guys. With that the year that Kobe blew out his Achilles, I think that and God forbid that happens to LeBron, but I think that my point is that they're going to do everything. They're going to do everything possible to make the playoffs because you can't, if you're the Lakers, you cannot um, you can't go you can't trade for Russell Westbrook and then not make the playoffs. Like that would be the ultimate embarrassment if that happens. So I think they do everything within their power. I think they will hold off San Antonio and and New Orleans. Well, New Orleans is in the 10th spot right now, so um, I think that they hold off. I think they hold off San Antonio though. And I think that New Orleans and the Lakers get those last two spots because the Pelicans have been playing really well since they've gotten CJ McCollum. So I think that they find a way and make it into the playoffs. So I think San Antonio is the odd team out. And LeBron I know he's going to do whatever it takes. They're going to make it. If you got to drag them kicking and screaming, they're going to make the playoffs.
No, I agree. I think I would like to see Pop make it in. I like some of the young talent.
I do too.
Keldon Johnson and Murray.
Yeah.
Even Jakob Pertl's been playing pretty well.
Yep.
Lonnie Walker, he's been playing well also. Yep. But I just think the hole's a little too deep. 3 games to make up in this short period of time is a lot. But I'm rooting for him. Hope the best. But I do think the Lakers will find a way to get in, especially if LeBron stays healthy. Based on all, like I said, 41 minutes is crazy. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Speaking
I do. No, I was going to say I do agree with you. I do like the young talent of San. I think they got some nice pieces and they got a nice base that they can build off of. Even Devin Vassell is a nice young player as well. So I think they got like 3 or 4 nice young pieces, and so they're building in the right direction. Now the question is that is Pop going to hang around, for this rebuild? Like I thought that after the Olympics, I thought that he was going to bow out and just call it a day, but he's still around. But I don't know how long he is for San Antonio.
Yeah, and I agree, which it's kind of unfortunate if he does walk away because, man, I can't think of her name. Becky Hammond just took the job, which obviously congratulations to her. But by all accounts, she should have been next in line. And it seems like maybe potentially a year or 2 she missed it by. But ultimately, more power to both of them and whatever they end up doing. But yeah, I don't think the rebuild would take too long. I don't
think so either. I just don't know that he has the patience to
They got ejected the other night, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he has the patience to because they're probably at least 2 or 3 years away. So and then I want to say he's in his 70s. So I don't know if he wants to hang around that long to the coach and to see them get back into that, being a contender in the West.
Yeah. The last thing I do want us to touch on, and I believe, John touched on it earlier. The Warriors. I think I said it on here. Like I was concerned a while ago. Before Steph came back, I had concerns. After Clay came back, I had concerns. After Clay came back, I still had concerns. Draymond's back. He's getting ejected. Now Steph's hurt on a questionable play. I'll leave it at questionable.
Yeah, that wasn't dirty to me. That's just hustle.
Okay. LeBron had a very, very similar situation.
Exactly.
I'm not going to kill him. The offender matters to me in this case. Marcus Smart isn't the cleanest of clean, but
I agree.
Overall, I like I said, I think I'll call it questionable, but I won't go dirty.
Yeah.
But the Warriors have been struggling and skidding for a long time. I do foresee them continuing to fall based on they can't seem to put all the pieces together. You never know what you're going to get from who, which night. Is Clay back to be the guy? I think it was this show where it might have been Fast Break where we were talking about is Clay a number one, and I said no. Like he ain't a one to me because he's always benefited from the system, and if he had to be the guy, what would the team look like? Yes, he is coming back from an injury, but I haven't seen the dominant can carry a team on my back guy. The only thing that's really in their favor to me is that Utah, Dallas, and Minnesota aren't. I think Minnesota's too far away, and Utah is too inconsistent. In Dallas, they don't have another number two. So I think by default, they may end up staying in that 3 spot, but it's not because I'm super confident in them. I'm just not very confident in the people behind them that can catch them.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. I just think that they're in a comfortable enough position to be able to hang on. But I understand why you would have questions, especially with Steph going down. And we've seen that Clay's kind of struggled in his comeback. They're in front of Utah, and I just don't believe Utah has the consistency to be able to, to make up that ground, and they had an opportunity to get one tonight, against a depleted Nets team, but wasn't able to do it. Yeah. So, we already talked about, we got our questions about Utah. So I think that they hang on to that. They hang on, to that 3rd spot. But I will say this, that you have to have a healthy Steph Curry. Like there's no way that there's zero chance for them to make any type of playoff run without a healthy Steph Curry. I think did Wiseman come back yet, or is he?
They had called him up, I think, from the G League, but he has not played yet.
Okay,
so I don't know what the holdup is, but he should be playing here soon.
Yeah, so and we're kind of running out of runway here. You want to get him to get some minutes, have some games under his belt, before we get into the playoffs, and he hasn't experienced the playoffs at all because he was out last year. Right. So I think you want to get him to get some type of feel, to kind of knock the rust off and get some chemistry. So I think it's they definitely don't go far, and they're not beating Phoenix right now. Shoot, I don't even know if they're beating Memphis right now the way they're currently playing, but they're definitely not beating Phoenix. So I think that they can win a round. I'm not sure if they can make it to the conference finals the way they're playing right now.
And you mentioned Phoenix. I got to tell you, I've been impressed.
For sure.
I'm not a big Chris Paul guy. I think we've talked about that. And I'm not saying he's been made irrelevant by any stretch. But they've played really well, and they've played really good team ball without him being there. Campaign has stepped into that role. Devin Booker has played really well. Ayton has been relatively inconsistent, but he's elevated his game at times. JaVale McGee, who I think I've been a fan of since Washington, has played well. Cam Johnson, just a bunch of different people all stepping up. Mikal Bridges playing – Miles Bridges. I'm sorry, he's Mikal. I said Mikal earlier. Miles Bridges in Charlotte's been playing well too. But even Jay Crowder does what he's supposed to do. Yep. So just a team of professionals, and shout out to Monty Williams for that. So my question is, can anybody beat Phoenix? You said Golden State can't, but do you believe anybody can?
I think they're definitely the team to beat right now, for sure. We definitely would say that. I do still think I still think that Milwaukee can, if they want. I think that's the worst. I think that's their worst matchup. I think that they would want to see anybody else in the finals except for them. I think they match up pretty well against everybody but them.
So real quick, because
Yep.
I see where you're going. Do you think they would guard Giannis the same way if they played again? Because I think that would make a huge difference if instead of just letting Ayton get destroyed, if they built the wall, if they trapped him, got the ball out of his hands at stretches, I think that makes a huge difference, especially when they're playing offensively.
I think you can, but the thing is about that is you can, you could build the wall, you could, trap, get the ball out of his hands. But then once if those guys start making shots, you know, then that puts you in trouble. If those guys start knocking down open looks, then that puts you in trouble. Um,
I live
so,
with Middleton, Holiday, Allen, and Portis knocking down shots
well,
for 4 games.
I give you Portis and Allen. I don't know if I'm leaving Holiday and Middleton open because I think they kill you if those are the guys you're leaving open. I think you live
Enough
with
to
Portis
beat
and
me?
Allen. I
No.
live with Portis and Allen. I'm with you, but I don't want to give up open looks to, especially not to Chris Middleton. And I wouldn't give up a lot of open looks to Drew Holiday too because he's shooting the ball really well this year, especially from three.
Fair enough. So that's the only team you got?
Yeah, I think that out of the East, that's the one bad matchup for them. I think they match up pretty well with Philly. I think they match up well with Miami, and I think they match up well with Brooklyn. And I'm probably missing somebody. Or even Boston, because a lot of people are not talking about Boston, but I think we need to start talking about them because they're playing really well. They play really good defense. They got two guys that could that could go off at any time. Jason Tatum is to me is a superstar in this league. So, but yeah, I think Milwaukee's the only team that they would have a tough matchup with. I think they match up okay with all the other teams in the East. And like I said earlier, I do think that they're the team to beat. Especially like you said, you got these guys stepping up. You got the campaigns of the world stepping up, and he kind of did that last year. He showed you what a value of PC is, and so he just kind of continued that. When Chris Paul went down, and Devin Booker is doing what he does, and he's also being a playmaker and making plays for his teammates. So I think he's elevating himself in the in the MVP conversation. So we got to start talking about him in the MVP conversation as well. So I just think that they're one of the teams, like you said, is that they share the ball. They make plays for each other. It's kind of like, they're kind of like a version of the San Antonio Spurs, and which is not surprising, because Monty Williams was a part of that organization for a long time. So you can see that, you can kind of see that influence on how they play the game because they give up a good shot for a great shot. Everybody's everybody gets a touch. Everybody gets is a scoring threat for the most part on the floor. Then you got the big guy Ayton that you could throw it to him in the post, and he can make plays. And he's he can when they feature him or when they really when he gets his touches, he is productive. So I just think that they have they just have a complete roster and they have a complete team, and they're the team to beat right now.
No, I agree, and I definitely agree with you, Damian. I was shaking my head. I get that Boston's on the run. I hear you. Horford, nah. Robert Williams, nah. Jaylen Brown, I
like
don't see
Jaylen
it.
Brown.
If they have a bad shooting night,
yeah, but they play D too, so that keeps them in games.
They do, but I've seen them have bad shooting nights and they look real average. So if they prove me wrong, I would love to see it because I'm a big Jason Tatum fan. I like Jaylen Brown too, for what it's worth. But I don't think they're in that tier yet. I think they're more in the Denver, Utah tier, maybe the top of that tier. They're not in that Phoenix, Milwaukee, Miami, even Brooklyn tier. But we'll see. We'll see. You never know. He get on the when Jason Tatum get going,
That's what I'm saying.
You can't do nothing with
He
it.
he could put a 50 ball up there at any time. So that's the difference. That's the difference maker when you got guys like that could just give me the ball and get out the way. Like those are the guys that make a difference come playoff time. Because I say this all the time. When it comes to playoff time, everybody knows your sets. Everybody
Mhm.
knows your tendencies, what you do, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. You're playing the same team, over and over again so there's nothing new that you're necessarily going to see. So at some point, it comes to who can make a play and who can, make a shot, who can make a play for themselves or who can make a play for their teammates. And so, it comes down to that one-on-one matchup and who can score against who. And there's not too many guys better than Jason Tatum when it comes to who can score against who.
Definitely agree. Definitely agree. Well, we gave you guys some time back. There's still a number of games on tonight. We got some close ones. Looks like Dallas and Minnesota is a good one. Dallas is currently up 12. The Hornets did get the Pelicans we talked about. Portland beat Denver in two bad teams, but those are games at some point you got to start losing if you want the better lottery position. So a couple good games. Chicago did finish off Toronto, so good for them. But definitely got some good stuff coming up for you guys this week. Definitely stay tuned as we get closer and closer to the draft. More, who knows what the NFL has planned for us. Baker still got to get moved.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get some traction on that. And what if it does happen, you definitely know we'll touch it on Thursday. So definitely tune in Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern, and definitely tune into ASAP for all of your sports needs. Breaking news, we cover it. Articles, we got them. Anything you want, we have for you. Have a good night, and we'll see you on Thursday. Take care.